Thank you for joining Digging In with Bonnie. I'm here again with my co-host DJ Menace from the QTH Radio.
Yeah, qthradio.live if you're interested. We've got tons of music playing all the time. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me. No,
Oh,
yes. So
yeah.
it's been a long morning. I'm sorry, folks. He did. He had me on his radio show, so it does fit. Sorry we're late. We had some technical difficulties. With that being said, I'm going to pretend I'm my son over here and say that. Starting next week, we will not be coming on air until about 12:30. DJ has his radio show at 10. Well, he's going to start at 9:30 next week, I think. And then, he started helping with the podcast and everything. So we were kind of cramming everything in real quick. We would like to make sure that we're more organized and more relaxed to get the flow going and everything. So I decided today I will start at 12:30 starting next week. Like I said, we had some technical difficulties today, so that stopped us from getting online. Please do not message my phone with anything about my son as he's holding my phone for any incoming. I'm just kidding. He's a wonderful kid. There's not much you can say wrong. So today, last week I mentioned I wanted to do true crime or celebrity crime.
Right.
When I had somebody message me and said they couldn't wait for the true crime. So guess what we're doing? But before we do that, for those of you that know, I was born and raised in Ashtabula, Ohio. Just like every other town, you hear about Ashtabula. However, there comes a time when Ashtabula needs to band together, and we seem to really do that when the time comes. So with that being said, last week, Ashtabula lost a young lady. She's 21 years old. She left behind a 19-month-old daughter and a 2-week-old daughter. It's a very sad situation. Of course, at 21, you don't plan on losing your child. She was just she was a peaceful girl. She liked the beaches, the oceans. She even moved to California for a little while because the ocean meant so much to her. When she got pregnant with her first child, she wanted to come home and be with her family. Isn't that something? I mean, a lot of kids at that age would have just, hey, but no, she wanted to be with her family and back home. And then, like I said, recently, she gave birth to a beautiful 2-week-old baby. And as a result of difficulties in childbirth, she's passed. So we have Calvin Wade. He used to own Wade's Possibilities over here on West Avenue. For those of you that ate there, you know what kind of cook he is. Yesterday, he did a really nice dinner. All proceeds go to the family. Not only is he cooking for everybody that orders, he's delivering. So you're going to get a fantastic dinner. You can have it delivered to your door. And today, it's only $20. And with that $20, you will get cabbage rolls, homemade mashed potatoes, some corn, and some fresh Italian bread, and you're going to have it delivered to your door. So not only do you get away from cooking and making a mess in the kitchen, you're going to be helping a good cause. Along with that, before I forget too, there's actually places where you can donate money if you don't live around here and you want to help, or even if, you just want to help. Guerrero's funeral home is where she's going to be laid to rest. Or that's where they're having the service, I should say. So you could always go there and make your donation. Even if it's just $5, every little bit makes a difference.
It does too.
And then the names of people that you can contact, you can find on Facebook. Chris Loveland. I don't know if he's, just a close friend of the family, if he's a family member. But then you have a Michelle Pollard and a Dante Pollard. Those are her parents. And Dante, actually, he has his Cash App thing out there. And I thought I wrote it down. Apparently I didn't. So, but if you know them, you can go on their Facebook. You can message them. I actually replied to something Michelle had posted yesterday because I don't know the family, but I reached out to her to get permission to even, say anything about this. Very lovely young lady herself. As a parent, I know what she's going through. It's a very hard time for her.
Right.
And she still took time to talk to a complete stranger. So, that says something. So please reach out to this family. If you can't donate or, you can't order anything, at least keep them in your prayers. This is a very difficult time for them. And those babies especially. One's definitely missing mommy.
Mm,
and the other one's going to grow up not knowing mommy at all.
yeah.
So please. Oh, and by the way, anything that's not used for the funeral will go to the expense of the children. It'll help provide them with anything that they need.
Right, right.
So even if donations are met funeral wise, the kids still need some extra care right now until everything gets worked out, especially. So don't hesitate to donate. I'm looking forward to seeing what Ashtabula could do for this family. I know we can do it.
Yes. Yes, we can definitely get something put together for them. I mean, I can't even imagine what the family's going through. So,
And her poor mother's the one that found her.
oh God.
Yeah, she thought she was going to spend some time with her grandchildren, let her daughter go relax.
Mm,
Unfortunately,
so sad.
yes. So on another note, oh yeah, if you don't have Calvin on your page, message me. I'll get a message to him. But like I said, you got to hurry and get your orders in because he started at 4:30 and by 5 o'clock was sold out.
Oh wow.
Yes, he's a fabulous cook. I mean, I really wish you'd open that restaurant back up because I could live there.
I bet. I bet.
So, like I said, we're going to be talking about true crime and everything. I do, however, I believe in small shops, the moms and pop shops. So I've decided that every week I'm going to give a shout out to at least two a show. Today I want to pick Dave Jones out there at Shirt Shack in Conneaut.
Right.
He doesn't have his storefront anymore. He still works full time, plus he has a store and, of course, a family. So he's now working out of his home. Actually, if you could, can you bring up Dave Jones there so I can give a phone number for him?
Let's see, we can certainly work something out.
So we'll get your number for Dave. He does shirts, mugs, decals for your cars. I just had some made. The man does fabulous work, reasonably priced. So reach out to him and see what he could do for you. And he's really good. He'll walk you through step by step what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. He'll answer any and all questions. So you can reach Dave at 440-812-0924. So that's Dave Jones at Shirt Shack. And then let's see. Last week we had breakfast at a little diner in Jefferson, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Mugs. It's your little hometown. People are very friendly, outgoing. It was a wonderful time. Where are they located, DJ? Right there on is it Center Street or?
Oh gosh. I don't know the roads anymore. I just I
You
just
just
live out
drive 'em,
here and I
okay.
drive them.
It's on their main run, if that helps any. It's up the street from the courthouse, just a tad. Food was good. So if you get a minute, stop in there, give them some support, help keep them up and running, and then I'm sure they'll appreciate it. And while I'm on that subject, tipping,
Yes.
please tip. Even if you feel like your food wasn't done right or whatever, because it's not the waitresses that do that.
Exactly.
They're the ones that take the heat for what's not right.
Exactly.
So,
On that note, can we pause this for a moment? I've got a few housekeeping things to take care of so that we can ensure a very pleasant experience for the viewers.
okay, he scares me sometimes.
No, just some lighting issues and some text
Oh,
issues.
because I'm just kind of.
So
That's okay. You can leave me blended in. I'm good.
we'll get that sorted here in just a few moments. again.
And we are back. He said housekeeping. I thought he was going to get him clean. I was getting ready to send him to my house. So, for anybody that knows me, knows I'm a crime buff. I like the Law and Orders,
Mm-hmm.
the Forensic Files, the Snapped. Snapped is so good that I watch it until I'm seeing the reruns again.
Right.
And then I have to lay back a little bit, wait for some of the newer ones to come out. And my husband will even ask me. He stood there one day. He's like, "Are you mad at me?" I said, "Why would you ask me that? I'm just watching TV." "Yeah, but you haven't watched your shows for a little while and you're watching them again. Do I need to sleep with one eye open?" Of course not. I'm not that bad. But with that, with us doing true crime today, it made me stop and think. And I'm actually going to be posting some games on my website. I'd have to figure out how to get the proper pictures on there and load it so everybody can read it.
Right.
And once we get these rolling, we'll do little contests with them. Have a little fun. See who does it. Get maybe have your name put in for a drawing of some kind.
Yeah, that will be tons of fun.
So so that's something. And I got 3 different books here, and some of it I'm noticing it's going to take 4 or 5 pages to get through because you actually have to read like a segment.
Mm-hmm.
Which takes you into answering the questions about the crime and, tries to help you get it all figured out. So that is something I'm looking forward to doing hopefully soon. So, DJ, is there anything you want to say today before we get rolling?
Well, thank you for having me again. It's a real pleasure to be here on your show with you. Well, we'll continue this for as long as we can anyway. So
At least I have one foot in the grave. I'm enjoying this.
yeah.
So, do you want to talk about a serial killer?
Well, I really don't want to talk about myself.
You can't give that away.
Oh, goodness.
Gosh.
Well,
Just when I think I taught them all.
I suppose I slipped a little too much then. So, but at any rate, some of you may know, and the rest of you are about to find out. I was in the military for just about 6 years, and not too long after I got back from my training, my civilian glasses had broken. So, of course, the military issues you special glasses, and they're real big and they're real ugly. But because I didn't have insurance at the time, especially vision insurance, and the job that I had was not, well, no, correction. I didn't have a job at the time other than the military. So, of course, I didn't have very much money to spend. And then when my civilian glasses broke, I just said, these are a really new prescription because I'd just gotten them issued while I was in training. So I started wearing those everywhere, as my daily glasses because I didn't have any other choice. Well, I went to drill, and of course, word finally got back to me several years later that because of how quiet I tended to be, because I stuck to myself, my thought process was that if I stick to myself and don't involve myself with anything, I can't get in trouble, right? But my thought process led others to think that I may have been a serial killer in my past time. So, interesting story for you guys.
Although we all know he's not really. He's got a heart of gold. He would never hurt anybody. So today, did you ever hear the story of Ed Kemper?
The name sounds vaguely familiar.
This man had some major issues.
Oh my.
Yeah. He was born actually in 1948.
Oh wow.
Uh-huh. And on December 18th, too. He was a relatively tall man, stood 6'9". He has a nickname of Big Ed, the co-ed killer.
Hmm.
Could you imagine having a name like that?
No, I couldn't.
Now, this is a man with an IQ of, are you ready for this? 136.
Oof.
Yes, that's like getting to genius.
Right.
For somehow he was given another IQ test, which gave him a higher result of 145. So he
Ooh.
could have been another Einstein.
Could have been, yeah.
Instead, he chose to kill 10 people.
Oof.
Now, as we tell the story, we're going to get in a little deeper. But do you know this man is actually scheduled for a release in 2024?
He's still alive
Yes.
and is scheduled to be released next year. That is a scary thought.
Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's just eligible for a parole. So he'll have to go to the parole board. So that does make it a little different. I'm sorry.
Either way, it's still a scary thought.
It is. I mean, you know, at this age, you have to wonder if he's still capable of doing those things. But this man killed his grandparents
Mm.
and his mother. And then he chopped her head off. Yes, he chopped his own mother's head off. I will watch how I phrase some of this because I do know my grandchildren tend to listen, so I don't know how many other children are listening. So, yeah, he cut her head off, and he did some unspeakable things with her head. Apparently, the man did not like his mother. I can't imagine what a mother could do. So, I mean, I've been around for a little while. I've seen some mothers that didn't deserve their children.
Right.
So that much I get. But why not just go on with your life? Why take a life?
Right.
You know? So in our about description here, we have Edmund Emil Kemper III is an American serial killer who murdered a total of 10 people. Kemper notably murdered a 15-year-old girl as well as his own mother and her best friend from May 1972 to April 1973. This was after Kemper's previous parole for murdering his paternal grandparents at 15 years old. So he killed his grandparents at 15. They locked him up and let him back out to kill again. You have to wonder where our laws are. I mean,
Well, I suppose that just goes to show that not everyone learns from their mistakes.
apparently not, because you figure he killed 2 and he's up to 10.
Right.
So,
Oof.
do you want to tell us a little bit of what you have about that man in there?
Oh, let's see.
I actually went to Barnes and Nobles to do some digging. It's a bookstore. Everybody probably fell over. The bookstore is probably not standing anymore. But
So, for those interested, the book that she's referring to is The World's Most Evil Serial Killers, Crimes That Shocked the World. And it's a pretty hefty book. So, apparently, there's loads in here from Jerry Burdos, H.H. Holmes, let's see, Richard Chase. There's tons in here. And it does look like a very good read. And they do have some images of what these people looked like. So,
and what he doesn't know is I got another one. Different people.
serial killers of the 80s. Oh, that's just one
Yes.
decade.
They actually have these for the 80s, 70s, 60s. So eventually, I think I'm gonna try and gather up the whole thing. Because something tells me we're going to be doing a lot more of this. A lot of people really do find this stuff interesting.
Right.
Not that, they want to see people killed or anything, but it's like trying to get into the mind of a person that thinks that way.
And try to understand maybe why. I think that's where I kind of sit, is I want to understand, what happened and what possessed them, what made them do the things that they've done.
Back when he was doing this, nobody knew what to expect or how to explain it. So he was actually just diagnosed with the schizophrenia and hospitalized for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Institutionalized, I think is what they called it back then.
So I did find something quite intriguing here. Because you mentioned about him killing his grandparents
Yes.
at 15. So here it says that Kemper's first kills a family affair. One day in August of 1964, he was going out of the house with his rifle when his grandmother told him not to shoot any of the birds. He turned and shot her twice in the head. Th- That
That kind of gives a new meaning to don't shoot the birds.
right. It doesn't make very much sense. I mean, it, you'd have to be quite ill to take any misconception from being told not to shoot at the birds.
Right, because I mean, that's not just what we call today our spoiled little brats who aren't getting their way.
Right.
That goes way beyond that.
Exactly. Exactly. And then this goes on to say that when his grandfather returned from a shopping trip to Fresno, he shot him too. So there's not much detail on the grandfather, but
I'm assuming Grandpa came home and found Grandma, so he had to hush Grandpa up.
probably that's what I would have to assume as well. So of course it does say that he was just 15 and did not know what to do next. So he called his mother, who told him to call the local sheriff. Kemper told the sheriff that he'd killed his grandmother because he wondered what it would feel like. So there we go into our reasoning why. But then it goes on to say that he then shot his grandfather so that he wouldn't have to learn that his wife was dead.
Oh, well, how considerate.
So apparently there was some compassion there. And as you just said, diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, Kemper was sent to the Atascadero State Hospital, a secure facility for the criminally insane. So
Is that the one that's in California?
yes.
Okay. Because they're saying here that he was so well liked by medical experts that he became their assistant in prison, conducting psychiatric tests on other inmates, which helped gain his release in 1969 after they concluded he was not typical of a sociopath.
Well, considering the reasoning for shooting his grandmother, I mean, I'm no psychologist or psychiatrist either, but I'd like to think that I understand a small portion of the science.
But on the same hand, I'm almost certain the death penalty was in place at this time.
Well, being California, I'm not sure because, of course, each state has their own
That is true.
punitive circumstances.
That's true.
So, but no, that's crazy. Yeah. And it says here too that at 20 he was released to a halfway house and complained that he did not get help from his parole officer to help him reintegrate with society, which of course had changed radically in the 5 years that he had been away. I don't know how radical a change could happen in society in just 5 years' time.
Well, no, that he was 15.
Right.
What in society would have changed so much that he couldn't adapt?
Exactly.
At 15, you're just now really getting out and about. You're just really getting ready to understand what's going on around you. So I can't imagine having to adapt too much.
Right.
Unless it falls in the category of getting a job, which he had while he was in prison.
Exactly. Here's a quote from him. It says, when I got out on the street, it was like being on a strange planet. People my age were not talking the same language. I had been living with people older than I was for so long that I was an old fogey, he called himself. So, which, in that respect, I do kind of understand that feeling because growing up, I did spend time with kids my age, but for some reason, I tended to fit in better with the adults, so I hung out more with the adults, and kind of, in retrospect, forced myself to become an adult much earlier than I should have.
That's why you should listen to your mother and went and
So,
played.
yeah, I should. I very much should have.
See, now he's really going to make everybody worry about him.
So,
I will be locking my doors tonight. So, here it says, after Edmund Kemper killed and decapitated his mother, he tore out her vocal cords and shoved them down the waste disposal.
oof.
I'm dumbfounded here. I'm looking for
Yeah.
words. He told the police later about it. So it almost sounds like he's proud of what he's done.
Right.
Most people sit there and deny.
Well, and I think you'll find with a fair amount of these serial killers anyway, that they do go on to be proud of themselves for what they have done and what they've accomplished, which is just bizarre by very many standards. I mean, you can't fit society into a little box as far as standards go, but you know there's an acceptable decorum that you kind of need to take.
Something. I mean, this is a young man that hated his mother so much that he did that. And think about the other human beings.
Right.
I mean, how do you have that much hate in you, but especially towards your mother?
Exactly.
So, do you know he had sisters?
No.
Not much is known about his sisters. There's an Alan Smith and Susan Swanson. According to Webster's interview, they have faith in their brother and believe that he's a good person who did bad things. The sister by the name of Swanson passed away in 2014 and is buried in Montana.
Wow. Now, as far as that being a good person who did bad things, I have heard that a fair amount of times about several people who have done not necessarily anything is gruesome and gross and well, other adjectives that I can't even think of to describe the actions that he's done. But most of what I've heard have been from people less in less severe of a situation, like shoplifting or something like that. And generally it's seen as though the person who was shoplifting or whatever it was that they were doing was generally a good person. They did care about everything. But I understand wanting to believe that a family member's actually a good person, but when somebody goes through and does the things that this man has done, you really can't believe that anymore, can you?
No, it's not like at 15 he did something and then and maybe a little slow at functioning and then realized, oh my God, what did I do?
Right.
That would be a good person that did something bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, it's just, even then, I'm not even sure I could accept that. But so the whole thing is weird. Apparently, his mother was abusive, and what the book's not telling you is not only did he kill his grandfather to keep him from finding his wife, his grandfather told him off. It doesn't say why, but it says it's to keep him from finding his wife, and because he told him off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So again, we're back to the spoiled child. I mean,
right.
Some of these stories really do. As much as I like my stories, they dumbfound me. I can't. Yeah. As we know, he went in there and he put a lot of effort into impressing the doctors at the facility. He taught the inmates how to pass tests. Isn't that something?
Wow. Wow.
I don't know. I don't understand. I get he had the high IQ, but I don't know how impressed they could be with him. I just don't.
Right.
So he was being raised by his grandparents because his mother was an alcoholic, and she had a habit of mocking and belittling him. So I can see where mentally he might have been a little, but a lot of kids grow up with that.
Right.
You have to learn how to overcome it. You can't just go kill people because
Right. I mean that kind of ties back into last week's no, not last week's our first episode
yes.
with mental illness.
Yes, which remind me, before we get off today, I actually had a question put to me today about that. And I want to
Sure.
put it out here to our viewers and see if they have any answers.
Let's see. What else is in here? So planning for action, Kemper put a great deal of effort into planning his crimes. He had learned how to spot potential victims at a distance so that he did not have to turn back or make any sudden maneuvers that would draw attention to his car. He already knew that there were more hitchhikers on the roads at weekends and that young women were more likely to get into his car when it was raining, which sounds like a reasonable thought process, I suppose. When he had finished with them, I don't like the way that's phrased. He would dump their bodies in some remote spot, and he had come across many. Oh, he had come across many while working with the road gang. So apparently, while he was in either institutionalized or imprisoned at one point, he was doing community service with the road crew. So,
So, while he's doing all this, it never occurred to anybody when he killed the two family cats that there might have been an issue.
well, see, of course, growing up in your house, watching all of these kinds of shows, that's one of the first signs of being a sociopath is harming and killing animals.
Yes.
I mean, it might start with the ants in the magnifying glass because, oh, well, it's cool. It's science,
Right.
But then it progresses to mice and rats that are found on the street and, other critters you can find in the yard. And then it progresses even further to domesticated home pets. And, like, for parents or caretakers in general, for them to not take notice and get that man the help that he should have had, maybe it wasn't entirely on Kemper.
Well, here's something interesting. All right, so they act like they didn't care about him killing the cats, but they also didn't seem to care that his big sister tried to push him in front of a train, and on one occasion almost drowned him in a swimming pool. So,
Is this whole family sociopathic?
apparently something. Or was he doing something that his big sister thought, okay, I need to fix this problem now?
Oh, God.
This man actually attended community college when he came out of prison, prison the first time.
I can
Yeah.
believe that.
I don't know if you could hear her or not, but Chloe's outside crying because we won't let her in. Oh, Grandma won't let her in.
Let's see.
While he was on the psych ward, they decided he was no longer the vulnerable child he once was, measuring at an immense 6'9".
I mean, that's a big man, yeah. Even for such a young age. But and I can understand, some of the influences that have pushed him in one direction or the other. But like, really, it's all about how you let those influences direct you and how you learn from them.
So you have a man who's now killed his grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
the cats. Do you know what he tried to do?
What
He
is that?
tried to become a police officer.
Oh, good Lord.
He was rejected not because of mental instability, but because he was too tall. Yes.
They would have let this man become an officer if he wasn't so tall.
According to the research I did, it says right here, he wanted to become a cop, but was rejected from the academy for being too tall.
That's kind of sickening.
So then, now mind you, he's rejected. So his Reform Act, or what is he? It says, yeah, Kemper's Reform Act was just that. And he soon started picking up young women hitchhikers with plastic knives and handcuffs in the glove box. It wasn't until his mid-20s that Kemper acted on these impulses.
Mm.
I'm trying to put in my brain how they even thought he was ready to go back into society.
Right. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
This is definitely a man that does not have reason or rhyme to his thinking.
Exactly.
That's why, even back then, they thought hitchhiking was a little safer. Back then, you didn't hear it as often.
Right.
But you did hear, well, don't be out there hitchhiking, you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
It's because of people like him.
My gosh. Let's see. Early in 72, he began buying knives and borrowed a 9mm Browning automatic from a friend. Then it was time to get out on the road. His first two victims were 18-year-old Fresno State College co-eds, who he picked up on the afternoon of the 7th of May in 72 with the intention of killing them. When he pulled off into a wooded side road near Alameda, they asked him what he was doing. In reply, he pulled the gun from under his seat. Intending to take them back to his apartment to rape them, he put Anita in the boot of the car. And for those of you who are Americanized, the boot is the trunk. Let's see, I lost my place now. Meanwhile, Marianne was placed in the front passenger seat with her hands handcuffed behind her back and a plastic bag over her head. Ooh.
Now, I'm wondering if those are the two, because at one point, he would actually let them go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he driving some 150 around harmlessly. But those who get in Ed Kemper's car between May 1972 and April 1973 weren't so lucky.
Mm.
Over
Let's
this
see.
11-month period, he killed 6 female student passengers before chopping off their heads, doing undespicable things to them. I think I'm saying that right, despicable.
Yeah.
And then dismembering their bodies entirely.
Oh, gosh.
I know back then mental illness was not on their radar, so to say. It was one of those things where, if they thought you had a mental illness, you just automatically went into an institution and stayed there.
Right.
And I like schizophrenia. I understand there's different phases and levels of schizophrenia. We even had an uncle who was schizophrenic, but he would have never hurt a soul.
Mm.
His idea of being schizophrenic was, like hearing things.
Right.
But you were able to bring him out of it.
Right.
Real easy, just by saying, hey, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. And then he would turn the conversation to you.
Right.
Or the paranoia. Did you just really eat all the kids' cookies? Nope. Got it, That was a part of the paranoia, which I get. It was like, for that few moments, that child's mind kicked in with, oh my God, I'm in trouble because I ate the cookies.
Right.
So let's really blame the children. But I'm not understanding any of this. This man is, most murderers do have something going wrong up there. It's ticking wrong. But, whew.
Right. And I can understand that bit. I really can, but I can even understand, these people, how they didn't see that something was wrong. So they didn't seek the help themselves. I really do truly understand that concept. But why didn't anyone else see and get them the help that they needed and deserved?
Well, here's something interesting, though. 5 of his innocent young victims were college students, and another was a high schooler, earning him the nickname the co-ed killers. That's where that name comes in. But it says, psychiatrists said these twisted killings were just a surrogate for his ultimate victim, his mom.
Wow.
So are we to assume that's okay because they were just alternate the victim?
Right. Yeah. And again, in the shows that I've seen, of course, about true crimes such as this, oftentimes when somebody is as messed up as this particular person is, and the to them, their first kill is the best, and to get that satisfaction again, they go out and they find someone
Similar.
who is similar.
Okay. I wonder, because if you ever notice, most serial killers have a type.
Yes.
And I never put that together.
Exactly. And oftentimes these people that they find are very much surrogates for their first kill, which is oftentimes, from what I've seen, a family member, a brother, a sister, a spouse, mother, father. In this case, his mother, or even his grandmother, maybe.
But do we want to finish kind of talking about his mom here?
Sure.
And apparently they refer to his mom. I don't know if that was the phrase back then. I don't know if they were originally from.
Yeah, it might be.
So that's just, when I'm saying mom, it's just, I'm saying verbatim what they were saying. So after severe arguments with his mom, he would go out and find victims, bringing them to his mother's house while she was gone. Yes. And conducting his sickening business.
Oof.
So then one night after she came back late from a party, he finally took out his buried revenge on her. He slit his 52-year-old mom's throat before bludgeoning her face in.
Oh, God.
He even threw darts at her beheaded corpse and yelled at it for hours. It was the ultimate conclusion of his terrifying rage. Then he pulled out her larynx and tongue and threw them down the garbage disposal chute. Ed's mom's throat was too strong for the system to break down. Kemper then went to the bar to drink alone, inviting her 59-year-old friend over to watch a movie. Wow. Okay, so then when the friend, Sally Hallett, arrived, Ed strangled her to death, seemingly to build a cover story that they had gone on a holiday together. Then Kemper fled the property, but not before leaving a sick note for the cops. It read approximately 5:15 a.m. Saturday. No need for her to suffer anymore in the hands of a horrible, murderous butcher. It was quick, asleep the way I wanted it, not sloppy and incomplete jets. Just a lack of time. I got things to do. He got bored on the road and was disappointed he wasn't the subject of the police manhunt. I hear that all the time.
Right.
The 15 minutes of fame is what I think they call it. And that kind of fits in with like the school shootings and stuff.
Right.
Because we don't hear about the victims.
Exactly.
We hear about the person who's done this.
Exactly.
And what we should hear, we shouldn't have to deal with it at all. But what we should be hearing is about the lives that were lost, the innocent people that were there. Just take the person that did it.
Right.
Especially when, 9 out of 10 times they don't even come out alive themselves.
Right.
Just, this is it. It's over. Now let's give our tributes to the victims who had to live through this.
Right. Exactly. And along those lines as well, I think the reason that so many of these serial killers that we've heard about because of these shows, I think the big one of the biggest reasons that they're so well remembered, and they're so infamous in their actions, is because the media themselves gives these people nicknames when it first goes to press.
Yes, they do.
And I don't know how many of you watch Criminal Minds, but if you don't, it's not a true crime show. Some of the episodes that they've written are based on true events that have happened. You know, they might have taken bits and pieces from several different events
Right.
and combined them into one different or into one show. But their big thing in the show, and again, it's not true to life, but their big thing in the show is that they don't want the media to give these people nicknames, because then everybody is focusing on that individual rather than the harm that he's causing.
Right. And now, I mean, they give them nicknames so that they automatically start, oh, could that be where these guys still, they want to profile, they want to try,
Right.
and put it all together to bring that one person.
Right,
to justice.
Exactly.
Okay, so then, this guy, he always wanted the attention of the authorities, whether that was his absent dad or cruel mom or the police force that shunned him. Well, first of all, he wasn't shunned by the police. If anything, we should be asking the police what they were thinking by even considering.
Right.
So,
Right.
And then it says, yet when he still didn't get it after all these heinous crimes, he finally handed himself in.
Wow.
So we have 10 people dead. Do you know the police didn't even believe him when he gave his confession over the phone?
Oh.
So he called back later and finally was taken in.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's really,
Now let's see. Oh, the last paragraph in this chapter of this book about him says that in custody, Kemper made a full confession. The public defender's insanity plea was rejected by the jury, who then found him guilty on 8 counts of murder on the 8th of November, 1973. So why was it only 8? Were the other 2?
Well, probably because his grandparents already served the time for.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So then it says here that Ed Kemper was sentenced to life imprisonment with no possibility of parole.
Well, that's
so apparently something's been overturned somewhere.
Yes, because he went for parole in 2017, got denied, and he can go up again in 2024.
Wow.
Which I feel better that, once I reread and it sunk in, that was the parole hearing. But he shouldn't even be eligible for that. It should be a given. Actually, he should have been executed. I mean, I don't see any way that this could be spun. I don't see any way where this could be a mistake of any kind.
Right.
I mean, even if he didn't do it, to go in and say he did says he's a sick man.
Exactly.
It's not like, oh yeah, it was me that stole that pack of gum. So emotionally, I couldn't handle it much longer. Toward the end there, I started feeling the folly of the whole damn thing. And at that point of near exhaustion, near collapse, I just said to hell with it and called it off. So, because by that point, he wasn't feeling any physical or real emotional purpose.
Right. Oof.
So, I guess, kill until you can't feel anymore, and then you turn yourself in. That's what it amounts to.
At least for him. I'm really having a hard time imagining what went through this man's head.
I don't know. I mean, he had such a high IQ. He could have done anything with himself.
Right.
And this is what he chose.
Right.
All because his mom belittled him and made fun of him.
I mean, in that respect, you as a person, and this is everyone that should be looking within themselves. You can't turn around and belittle somebody. You can't make a mockery of them, or even tell them that they're no good, or
Right. And actually, that'll fit very well into next week's topic too. So it's really weird how everything just seems to fall together
right,
here. But of course, lawyers being lawyers, their job is to let me see what I can do for him.
right,
So they recommended he plead not guilty by insanity. So of course he had, the court hearing and everything. He even tried to kill himself twice while he was in custody during that time.
mm,
Well, the court's found to be legally sane if shockingly disturbed. Yeah.
shockingly disturbed.
Yes.
Yes, I agree with that.
So it says here that they came to this wild conclusion despite his courtroom confession that he was a cannibal and had been psychotic as a child. Because he was able to answer their questions correctly and understood what was going on, that was enough to rule him sane. Finally, after 5 hours deliberation, the jury ruled him guilty on all counts.
Wow.
Ed asked for death by torture, though this wasn't an option in California. At California medical facility where he remains, Ed shared a block with Charles Manson and the notorious West Coast murderer Hubert Mullen, who he formed a rivalry with. Oh, I don't want to be in that.
No, I wouldn't want to be involved in any of that either.
The man who started his adult life as a model prisoner and psychiatric patient was now locked up for good and once again considered a model prisoner. He avoided the death penalty on a legal technicality and has been incarcerated for almost 50 years. Kemper was immortalized on Netflix true crime drama Mindhunter, where he was memorably played by Cameron Britton, who won an Emmy for his troubles. When they go to play these roles, they really got to try to live it and
Right.
get to the mindset of it.
Right.
So he should have won more than an Emmy. Back in the real world, Ed has been rejected paroled many times despite his good behavior, which one prosecutor saying in 2007, "We don't care how much of a model prisoner he is because the enormity of his crimes." Kemper was most recently rejected from release in 2017.
Mm-mm-mm.
And then again, it tells you how he can apply again in 2024.
Wow.
So I don't know. I guess you just have to have a totally different mentality to even put yourself here.
I suppose so. Oh. I'm completely dumbfounded. How could they even think that with his history that he could have become a police officer?
Remember, he became a model.
A model
Prisoner.
citizen.
He
Prisoner.
became a model prisoner.
And then
So apparently all that just walked out the door with them.
Oh.
And again, he didn't get his way, so let's go back on another killing spree.
Right.
Like I said, that puts a whole new meaning to spoiled brat.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does.
So unfortunately, especially with our delays today, we're going to be cutting it short. I actually had another one that I was going to touch on, but that's okay because I'm hoping to be doing this for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's showing me looking all over the place here. So let me go back to the... Oh, all right. Let me find this question that was posed to me from the first podcast we did. Thank you for talking about mental health. One side folks do not see is what I am currently seeing. My 26-year-old is in her final year of her master's degree in mental health. Upon completion next year, she will be a therapist. The students in this field go through pretty intense programs. Mm-hmm. Now, a 9-month, 30-hour-a-week, non-paid internship providing therapy overseen by other therapists. There are few and far between paid internships. I am an advocate for paid mental health internships. Although we live in Oregon, I'm sorry, everybody. Although we live in Oregon, if there are any, continue on.
Let's see.
Sorry.
30 hours a week, non-paid internship providing therapy overseen by other therapists. Is that where I'm at? Oh,
No, we're actually down here.
okay. Although we live in Oregon, if there are any resources that I can help provide or ask for, please let me know. So
So that's for my viewers and listeners, or however this works for you. Because I know on some of the podcast things we have, you can only hear us.
right,
What is out there? Because it's the same thing, doctors and lawyers. You put so much time in your internship, you don't have time to work.
right,
So how do you survive? I'm sure at 26 years old, she doesn't want to be home with mom.
right, exactly. And I've often wondered this when I was looking into getting into other ventures earlier in life. For various different things, and most of your internships are unpaid.
Well, that's because it is part of the classes.
Right.
It's part of your education. So technically, you've just paid to go out there and work. But there's got to be a program of some kind that can help them, because this is all things that are needed. You
Right.
need doctors, you need lawyers,
Exactly.
judges, and therapists. So why can't we put a program into effect that helps them survive
Exactly.
while they're working that hard?
Yes, very much so, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. Maybe that's something we need to do.
Do some research on that, see what
Yeah.
we can find out.
Yeah, do some research, and if we can't find what we want to find, maybe we can start something like what we're looking for to be able to help these people that are wanting to do better for our communities. So,
I think there's some should be state funded. I mean, we have state funding for people that just don't want to work.
mm-hmm.
But we also have state funding that takes place for those who don't make enough.
Right.
So wouldn't this fall in that same category?
I would imagine so. I would imagine so.
Could you imagine? I mean, would she say 30 hours a week?
Let's see. Now a 9-month, 30-hour-a-week non-paid internship providing therapy overseen by another therapist.
So that's 9 months that they're spending trying to focus and get their studies in, because that is definitely a tough thing to go into.
Exactly.
I mean, you have to figure out how to read these kids and adults or whatever. You have to try to figure out exactly what the best step is to help. So it's most definitely, I don't know. I think I agree with you. I think we're going to start doing some research, see what we can find out there, if anything. If anything, I would start maybe attending some of your council meetings and everything.
Yeah.
They might have some answers for you, or at least be able to tell you where to go to at least start a process to make this happen. You would have to think it would have to be state funded.
Right.
Almost have to be.
Right.
It's like, like you're saying, maybe we could start something like this. We would have to have the financial backing for that.
Right.
Which is something, So hopefully there's somebody out here that can financially back this.
Mm-hmm.
If not, hopefully the state will step in, because that's a very good question. And as a mom, I can only imagine how she feels sitting back,
Right.
watching her daughter work so hard to succeed.
Right.
And like internships are necessary. Like I said, you're paying to actually do it, but you're watching them struggle at the same time.
Right. Exactly.
That just doesn't seem right.
Yes.
Although I do know this mother, and I can't imagine that she's letting the child struggle. But to know that she was raised to be a very independent person,
Mm-hmm.
To watch it with it has to be a difficult thing to do.
Right. Right. Precisely. Oh goodness.
So, DJ mentioned on his radio show earlier today too. We on June 3rd
Yes.
from 11 to 5, we will be at the Ashtabula County Fairgrounds. We're doing the LGBT. Is that right?
LGBTQ plus.
LQ plus. We will have all kinds of stuff there. He'll be there. The radio show will be live. I'll be live with the podcast. I'll have my Sensi there. And we're hoping just to really, get to meet some people, get our
Right.
names out there. We definitely do have some brushing ups to still do, but
Very much so,
everybody starts
yes.
somewhere. And with the encouragement of my friends and people that are listening, and definitely my son, he's been very encouraging through this. So encouraging. Sometimes I think that's all he thinks about. But but hopefully, we can really get this rolling. I actually had a friend of mine tell me earlier, she was listening. Wow, he should really do this for a living.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you are. You're very good at it.
Well, thank you.
So hopefully maybe someday he can. If you guys
Hopefully-
get his name out here, maybe he can start getting some advertisers and
Right.
and little by little work into a building of some kind and bring other people in, because of course you're going to have DJs 24/7.
Yes. Yes, and I would love the opportunity to host a daily show. So,
That'd be really nice.
yes.
Like I said, once we're all set up with my equipment home and everything, I would definitely have to do some practicing at it. I can't just jump in it because I don't do very much solo without. I don't really get in the car and drive anywhere solo. So
Well, on the bright side, the listeners that I've got that have contacted me, they are very forgiving. So they will understand the fact that you're new to it.
I actually saw a couple of them said I was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, I've had a few of them tell me that you're a natural as well. So
You're definitely good at this. And I can see why your heart's where it's at. So
thank you.
Come on, people, start getting people listening. Let's once he gets that, what do you call it? Viewing. Once he gets the audience he needs,
Yes.
then he can start bringing in advertising, other people, and it would be a lot of fun.
Yes, it will be. Not only for us, but it'll be a lot of fun for you too. Whenever you tune in, so
Yes. So, was there anything? Oh, next week we're going to be covering bullying. It's a very big topic today, and it's not just our children bullying each other. So you can't just tell the parents, teach your kids. We have adults doing it too. I even will have a book for you guys to kind of incorporate with the conversation, and I will tell you where to get this book and where this author will be speaking in the near future.
amazing.
Yes, and the book is I haven't finished, which means that me, I don't really do any reading, so I got to really. But what I've read so far is amazing.
Yes.
It's heartbreaking, and it's something that's been taking place since she was a young child, who's now turned into a very, very productive adult,
Yeah.
and writing her own stories on that note
Right.
too. So I hope you guys will join us next week. We'll get all that taken care of. If you own a local business, a small business or whatever, and you want us to mention you, drop us a line. Tell us what you do. Tell us where you're located and your hours, and we'll get your name out here as well.
Yeah. What? Anywhere in the world, right?
Anywhere in the world.
So, and of course, if you're in a foreign country to us, please do forgive us if we get the mailing address somewhat messed up.
Yeah, where I work, we actually do ship stuff to other countries. And when I'm looking at the what's supposed to be the city, state, and zip, I do a lot of this. I'm like, wow. That's when you usually pass the buck here. You figure.
Right.
So yeah, I want you guys to have a good weekend, a good week. We'll be back next week. Remember at 12:30 instead of noon. We'll keep playing with our hours here and tweaking them to keep everybody happy and
Yes.
make transitions easier, so you don't have a half-hour delay because of technical difficulties, things like that. So thank you again, DJ.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
I really enjoy doing this with you.
It is
I really do.
tons of fun.
So next week we'll be back. I won't have my equipment set up by next week, so I'll definitely be here with him next week. And then I'm going to come to my studio for a couple of times. Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yes. And then at some point, if we couldn't get together, we'll be able to actually be in different studios and still do this together.
Yes. Yes.
So that'll be nice.
It'll be very nice to, I mean, God forbid one of us gets ill, but we still want to continue. So,
Right. And please don't forget those in Ashtabula, the fundraiser for Nyla Webb. Please place orders. Let's get some help for this family. They desperately need it. Not to mention, to see the compassion that they have around them right now and the love. So
yeah, and one other thing that we'll try to do is that Cash App that you were mentioning earlier. We'll try to get that posted onto your blog so that even people that aren't local might be able to donate some.
that would be wonderful. I didn't even think about
So,
that. Good job. Good job.
Just keep your eye out on digginginwithbonnie.com as you see it's scrolling across the screen, and we'll get it posted up there as soon as we find it, and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, so on that note, I'm going to say from my house to yours, have a good week.
Have a good week.